All right, guys, we're live for our second part of the Women in Power webinar series honoring Women's Month. Today is International Women's Month, the day. So welcome, good afternoon, good evening. This is your host, Miss Burt. I'm just getting some things together here. Yes, so if you don't know me, I'm Roberta Spade, known as Miss Burt, and we have been going all week long, super strong, with tons of great speakers through the week, honoring our women. And what we're trying to do here, this is our second year doing the Women's Empower event webinars. And what I hope to achieve is to inspire women, to encourage women in their personal and business life. So we have, our speakers are coming from, different point of views, giving five points. I'm sorry, I'm like moving around in this chair. I'm like slowly drifting. Five major points in different topics in their, in business and personal lifestyle. So tonight we have Miss Doris Dancy, and she's going to talk about the devastation of betrayal. So you guys stay tuned. But first, I want you to do one thing for me while I also do this, is to share. So go first, make sure your icon is the little world, which it means public, so that people will be able to share it off your page. Then go to the bottom of the video and hit share. Now you can share to a page, you can share to a friend's timeline, but make sure you share the video to someone. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm also going to share it on my friend's timeline because she asked me to. Yeah. All right. So let me say this in advance. My husband is not here. So my little dog is sitting in the window whining. So if you hear any whining or barking, either he thinks my husband is pulling up because he sees a car, or my husband is pulling up. So please excuse if you hear any whining or barking. It's just the dog waiting for his master to get home. So, guys, look at here. I want to thank our sponsor who's sponsoring these two segments for today, Ms. O Art. That's MZO_art. You can find her on Instagram. Go check out her beautiful fantasy artwork in acrylic and oil. So, without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker tonight, Miss Doris Dancy. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
I'm super excited about your title.
Yeah, this is a title that the Lord would not let me let go. I tried to let it go, but He wouldn't let me let it go. I'll start out, I guess, by telling you a little bit about myself.
Yes, ma'am.
I am an educator, foremost. I have done a lot of other things in my life, but educating is my passion. It is what the Lord put me on this earth to do. I love interacting with students and being a part of their growth. And that really has brought me to my books, because I teach in my books about betrayal and about how you can avoid being devastated. But before I get to that, I just want to tell you a little bit about my travels to this point in my life. I started out as a classroom teacher, did that for about 20 years, and moved from that to a teacher specialist. And that's a person who goes to other classrooms and talks with teachers about strategies and how to make learning easier for kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for about 2 years, and then became the supervisor of English for Hampton City Schools, and did that for about 15 years. Decided to retire and from that, and became a writing consultant, where I was traveling all over the state of Virginia teaching teachers how to teach writing. A lot of times teachers require writing, but they don't instruct it. And you probably can think back in your own educational childhood and remember a teacher who said, go home and write a paper, Miss Burt, and bring it in. And you did that with no instruction. You were writing right out of your own knowledge. And so it was important for me, as far as I was concerned, to go to classrooms and help teachers learn how to instruct writing. And I did that for 3 years, and I got tired of waking up saying, okay, where am I going to go today? And so I decided I'm going to stay home and I'm going to write myself. And that is when my journey started. I thought, Miss Burt, that I was going to write this beautiful daily devotional and send that out so people would have a way of having a little small devotional to look at something about the Lord every single day. But it wasn't coming because that was my idea. And God was telling me that's not my plan. And so I had to seek him and really pray and find out, what is it you want me to write? And betrayal kept coming. And I was like, I don't want to write about betrayal. It's so painful. And he was like, you are going to write about betrayal. You're going to teach people how they can be betrayed, but not be devastated in the betrayal. Because many people are devastated in betrayal.
Yes, yes. As we were talking this evening, I brought up your subject, and I was like, how many has been devastated by betrayal? And I'm like, and you know, we are human, we are emotional beings. Mm-hmm. So some things affect people differently. And for me, I am that type of person. When I am a loyal friend or whatever, I'm loyal to you. And to be betrayed by that person, I've, in the past, I've just really have been totally devastated, hurt, emotionally, can't get over it, can't believe it, can't eat or think, or it just consumed me.
Yes.
And so I was really happy when I saw that. So I was like, okay, now we can, really reach a lot of people, because I know I'm not the only one that has been, through something like that before and may have dealt with it in a total different way. So I'm looking forward to hearing some of your 5 ways of dealing with that.
Okay. Well, I saw it up close and personal, because after I was an adult, I saw my father betray my mother. She actually taught me how to handle betrayal. I saw her pain after raising 2 children together with this man and getting them both grown, to find herself in a situation where she was being betrayed. And I saw her, like I said, I saw her hurt, but I also saw her strength. And her strength came from God. I saw her find her own home. I saw her find her own means of making money. I saw her stick close to God. And in a betrayal, that's not easy to do. And so one of the things that my grandmother taught me is, it doesn't really matter so much what happens to you in your life, but how you react to what happens to you in life is more important. Mm-hmm. And so I saw how she reacted to it. And, they say that nothing is certain but death and taxes. But I say there's nothing certain but death, taxes, and a storm. We all have storms in our lives.
Yes.
And so we have to learn how to react to those storms. And so I've written 3 books, Miss Burt, And the first book is called Jagged Edges. And it is about a broken heart through betrayal, and how this young man, in this book, instead of the woman being betrayed by the man is betrayed by the woman. I had a little twist to that one.
Okay.
And in the second book, Shattered Pieces, the young man is born into poverty to parents who are not ready to have children yet, so they never loved him. And he doesn't learn how to love. And so he has all these relationships, but they are not love relationships. They are relationships where he just uses women. And in my last book, All Other Ground, which I'm going to hold up, All Other Ground, there's a young character in here named Summer Carlton, and she falls in love with the guy in Shattered Pieces, Zachary Belford, but he does not love her back because he doesn't know how to love. And he finally finds a woman that he does love, and she is devastated by that betrayal. And I'm going to share a little bit from that story later. So that's where we are, just knowing how to react in a storm. So, want my first point?
Yep.
Okay.
What is our first point? Oh, let me read the one in the comments. It says, we definitely need a tool to help heal betrayal and move past. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, let me say this before I get to my first point. Betrayal is one of the most difficult things that anybody can go through. And you've kind of alluded to that when we first started talking, because of its pain and because of its unexpected pain, because you have a person that you trust, you feel like this person is your best friend, and you're not ready for it. You don't know it's going to come. The first thing I want to tell you about betrayal is that it's an insult. It's an insult to every single thing that you have done with that person, because you have relied on that person, and that person has relied on you. Betrayal is also deception personified. It's that person who betrays you personifies that very deception. So you can actually see betrayal in a person. And betrayal is a thief. Betrayal steals your security, because you felt secure in that relationship. It steals away that feeling that I can rely on this person, and that I can tell them my deepest and darkest secrets, and that they will be there for me. They'll be there for me through thick and thin. It takes away your trust. But the thing that is the most powerful, Ms. Burt, I think, is that in that moment of betrayal, when you actually find out that that person has betrayed you, there is an immediate transition to that relationship. And that transition is moving from the truth in your life to the biggest profound lie in your life. And a lot of times people ask, well, how long has this been going on? And the reason they ask that question is because they want to know how long did it take for the truth to die and for the lie to live.
Oh, is that point one?
No, that's not point one. That's bringing you to the idea of how betrayal can devastate you. Because you've lived with this person, not necessarily in the same home or whatever, but you've lived a life, a relationship with this person, and all of a sudden you see there's this big lie. So that brings me to my first point. And my first point is that when you are betrayed, the first thing you have to do is recognize that your life is in danger. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that that person is going to kill you or anything. I mean, you're in danger because you are filled with anger many times. You are ready to have some revenge on that person. You are feeling isolated because even though you still love that person, even though you might say, I hate that person, you really don't. because love doesn't vanish that fast. So there's an isolation. You are not going to be with that person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There's a feeling of hopelessness and helplessness. So you are the one in danger because you are bringing all of this negativity into your heart, into your soul, into your life. And so the first thing we have to do is recognize that we are in danger. You shut down on your worship and your praise because a lot of times people get angry with God and blame him for allowing this to happen when he had probably had nothing to do with it at all. That's the other realm, you know.
Yeah.
But I wanted to read a very short passage from All Other Grounds, very short passage, where Summer has just found out that she's not going to get this man. He's going to go on with somebody else. And I want you to hear her devastation. It says, captured in some nightmarish state, I feel a shivering coldness that makes me sleepy. My legs are stiff and dragging as the puppet master makes me dance to his rhythm. Out of my car, I stagger in the darkness and with only the light of a loveless moon. Cars whiz past. I feel numb. I stop dead in my tracks. I have no thoughts. The puppeteer strings tug, urging me to move forward. Every breath, every step is an agonizing effort, but somehow I realize with a mystifying clarity what I must do. The bridge is solid beneath my feet, and looking down, the swirling waters beckon me. The river, smooth, silvery cloak, waves in the gentle breeze and welcomes me. The wind whispers, it's time. You cannot, you will not live without him. That's the devastation of betrayal. When you get to a point where you don't even want to live without the person, or you are at a point where you're so angry that you do something stupid, like bash their car in. Now you have to go to jail for messing up somebody's property. You lose your mind. So the first thing I want people to recognize is that they are in danger when they are betrayed.
And I just like to always kind of add my personal experience. So I had married very young. And why do I hear feedback? Not sure. Did you change anything?
Did I what?
Did you change anything?
No, I did not.
Okay, I don't know. Anywho, I keep some drive me crazy. So when I was young, I got married at 18, a high school sweetheart, and overseas. And he's my first love. And I found out he was seeing this other woman. I was pregnant with my son, and she was also pregnant as well. And I was just so devastated and so hurt because I had given up so much. I left college to go off and marry him. I left responsibility. Well, not responsibility, but I left a dream. And my dream was to run in the 88 Olympics. And I had the talent to. But I left all of that to go away with him. And then I found out this. So I was like, how can this be? You know, I was totally devastated. I was totally hurt. I was really destroyed. I was embarrassed. I was angry. You know, I had 2 kids. You know, I didn't finish college. I didn't have any work experience. And I was like, yeah, somebody gonna pay. Somebody gonna pay.
See how much danger you in?
Right, exactly. Somebody gonna pay. And it got ugly for a minute. It really did. It got ugly. Because I was just totally hurt. And I was like, yeah. Yeah. I was just really angry. But I see your point.
Yeah, I think it's just important to know that you don't need to destroy yourself because somebody tried to destroy you.
Right.
You need to save yourself. And you
Absolutely.
know, if somebody says to you, God is always available, he's always there. And that's hard to hear when you're that hurt.
Yeah.
But the best thing you can do for yourself is to hear it,
Mm-hmm.
to find him, to seek him, because he is going to make things a lot easier. He says to come to me, all you that are heavily laden, and I will give you rest. And he doesn't break a promise. So in all of that despair, in all of that anger, and wanting revenge, you have to know that's not the way I need to react. It's like what my grandmother said. It's not so much what happens to you in your life, it's how you react to what happens to you in your life.
Absolutely.
You have to start thinking that I am not going to give away that much power.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you were telling me is you gave away a lot of your power. You
Yeah.
gave away something you wanted to do.
Absolutely.
You relinquished your dreams
Mm-hmm.
to go after what he was doing. And
Right.
that's part of my teaching with young ladies today. Don't give away yourself. Don't give away your dreams. Don't let somebody have your power.
Yes.
Because God made you. He created you. This is your life. So
Exactly.
which
Exactly.
brings me to my second point. My second point is know who you are, know your power, and be true to yourself. Sometimes, Miss Burt, we have to get selfish. And what I mean by that is instead of doing what they want you to do, and maybe sometimes having children too soon before you're ready to have them,
Yep.
or giving up your career, or giving up your ability to go to school, giving away yourself. Know yourself well enough that you don't do that. Now, I will say this. You really can't wear a mask. And by that, I mean, don't act like you're so tough. No, he didn't hurt me. I'm not hurt. Yes, you are hurt. You have to admit that. So you don't want to wear a mask. And a lot of times when women are hurt, they wear a mask by going to get a rebound. You know, I'm
Yeah.
gonna show him. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get me somebody else. Well, that's not the way you need to react to betrayal. You
Yeah.
need to leave that person alone, because that means you're going to end up hurting somebody else. Just because you hurt, you don't need to hurt somebody else.
Yes.
And you don't love that person. You don't really care about that person. So leave the rebound alone.
Yes.
Find yourself.
Yes.
Rest
I
in
totally
you.
agree. You know, as older me now, you know, I go out and I talk to the young women about making right choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at a point, and you know, like I said, I gave up everything, and then I asked God, why? You know, how can this happen? Why? You know, why did this happen? I'm serving you. I'm doing this. I'm doing that, and I didn't even know who I was. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and it brought me to a place where I had to take responsibility. Those were my choices
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
not his choices. I chose that route.
Mm-hmm.
And once it all kind of clicked and I let go the regrets and I let go the what ifs, and I began to know who I was by
Mm-hmm.
going through that. It was a painful journey,
Mm-hmm.
but I learned that I was stronger than I thought I was.
Right.
Because I never experienced work. I never worked as a teenager, so I never got an experience. My parents did everything for me. You know, school shopping, wash and clean, all of that. So I didn't know how to do anything,
Mm-hmm.
nothing. As you know, 18 years old, 19 years old, married. I didn't know anything, so I was very shy. I didn't know how to go out and speak to people. I didn't even know how to make a doctor's appointment.
Wow.
And but that pushed me into being responsible young woman and a responsible young parent, not of one, but of two kids. And so I began to grow along the pain and understand and search. I am stronger than what I thought I was. And then I can
don't you see how God moved in that?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you see how he moved in that? Because you weren't prepared to do anything for yourself. But God was saying, you've got to be able to take care of you and two children.
Absolutely.
So you got to get stronger. So he allowed you to go through that situation and get hurt so that he could teach you how to do exactly what you're doing now. You're a strong Black woman now. You are, you have your own business. I went to your Black Authors Expo, had a wonderful time. It was so organized. It was so well put together. And so now look at you now. And that's the lesson I want people to understand. Don't destroy your life because somebody hurt you. Right. Don't end up in jail. Don't end up hurting somebody, getting all mixed up in some negative chaos because you got hurt. Seek Christ and he will lead you. He says, trust in, that scripture, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. And even in what you've just told me, I can see how he directed your path, how you had to lean on him and not on your understanding because you really weren't prepared to know how to do these things. So that's a perfect example.
Yep.
So you ready for point 3?
I'm ready. I'm typing them in.
All right. You have to make some changes. When you've been betrayed, you have to make some changes and be smart about who you let into your heart. That's real important. You have to start being smart about who you allow in your heart. One of the things you cannot do is you cannot go into a relationship with blind trust. Like, I know this person isn't going to help. He's so good to me. He buys me flowers. He brings me candy. He does all these romantic things. In my first book, Jagged Edges, I fell in love with my main character, Derek, because he was such a romantic man. And he would just do so many wonderful things. And people used to ask me, is your husband like that? I'm like, heck no. But it's all in my head. You can't get sidetracked by that and just believe that person will never hurt you going into this relationship with blind trust. You got to be smart. You have to know that we are all flawed. And say we all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So that person may not mean to hurt you, but it could happen. And you can't go in thinking it won't happen. You also can't go into it with a lot of suspicions. Because you've been hurt before, now you're going to compare every single thing that happened to you in that first relationship with the second relationship and be suspicious. I want to see your phone. I'm going to check your text messages. I'm looking in your pockets at night when you sleep.
Not to check the pockets. Oh, my goodness.
And you better not come in here smelling with any perfume, and you don't know that wasn't just a friendly hug at work or something, something happened, a celebration, you don't know. So you can't go into the relationship with all these suspicions, but you have to be aware of the red flags.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
You have to know the red flags. For example, here's a good example. This happened to a friend of mine. She went out with this guy 3 times, and they went to this kind of expensive restaurant. 3 times he told her he left his wallet at home. No. The first time you might say, okay, maybe he did forget it, but you're going to pay me back. The second time, no, you don't get a third time. She went out with him 3 times, and he told her 3 times that he left his wallet at home. And another friend of mine had a relationship with a guy who every time they were with his family, he was disrespectful to his mother and to his sister. That's a red flag. If they don't know how to treat their mother and they don't know how to treat their sisters, they will not know how to treat you. So there are lots and lots of red flags, and they wave ferociously. You have to acknowledge them.
Yeah.
And don't just think you can ignore them and they're not going to exist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to be smart.
People do that. They see the signs, and at the end, when things finally come to a halt, well, yeah, there were signs. Yeah, but you chose to ignore them. And
Exactly.
Signs are always there. We choose not, to realize, okay, that means something's not right. I need to back up. I need to, exit out of this before I get too far into this relationship. Signs are always there. We just refuse to see them or accept them because, we may be really liking this person or really just feel like we need this relationship to work because the other ones didn't. And we clamp on to something that we shouldn't.
Exactly.
Absolutely right.
Beware of those red flags. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to let go. Stop rehearsing the pain. And what I mean by that is stop telling somebody every single day how much this person hurt you, or listening to the music that you guys used to listen to. Or
I was just talking about that the other day too. Yes.
Just going back over, looking at the gifts that he might have bought you, or just still being in that place.
Yep.
If you don't want betrayal to devastate you, then you have to move on. You have to let go.
Yeah.
And stop rehearsing and sharing it about just talking about the hurt. I know you probably had some friends that you see them coming and you know what they're going to talk about because
you try to make a beeline the other way, hoping they don't see you.
Going back over that hurt again. Girl, what he did to me, and you already know because you've told me 1,000 times what he did to you. So you need to stop rehearsing the pain and let it go. That's a real important thing. And then the last part of this one, in really being smart about your relationships, is don't be so quick to blame. Women are very quick to blame the other woman. But some of these guys are smart. They never even tell the woman that they are in a relationship, or they may not even tell them that they're married or whatever. You need to investigate to find out. It may be both of their faults. Maybe she was pushy and it's her fault. But we seem as women to always go to the woman. Oh, she took my man. Yeah. No, he went. So he bears some blame because he was in the relationship with you. He was the one sharing with you. He should have been the stronger one to walk away. Yeah. So that's my third point, to be smart about relationships and be careful who you let into your heart.
Okay.
So fourth, ready for that one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The fourth one, open your heart to God. Don't shut God out because you are hurt. Let God in. Go beyond what you probably have been doing. Study his word. Don't just say, I'm going to read his word. Study his word. And one of the hardest things to do, Miss Burt, I'll put it this way. It's easy to say, I believe in God. Because you can look around and know that there has to be something greater than yourself. You can't measure the sky. You could scoop up a handful of sand. You can't count the grains. You can't tell how much water is in the ocean. You know there's something greater than yourself. So when you say, I believe in God, that's not that hard. But to say, I believe God, that's the harder part. Yeah. Like when you believe him, when you read his word and you believe his promises, you believe when he says, lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge me and I'll direct your path. And you wait for him to direct your path. You believe that. When he says, call to me and I will answer you and show you great and mighty things that you do not know. See, God has secrets. And that's one of my favorite scriptures. That's the scripture that I have on my website, because it has 3 parts to that. Call to me. It's God saying you have an invitation always to come to me. No matter what your situation is, no matter what the circumstances are around you, come to me, call to me. And then he says, I will answer you. He doesn't say I might, I'll think about it, I'm not sure. He said, I will answer you. And then he says, and show you great and mighty things that you do not know. Mm-hmm. Which says to me that he has some secrets, but he will open up those secrets to you if you allow him to come into your life. Yeah. And even in our hurt and in our despair, if we would but just come to Christ, if we would yield our lives and surrender to him, he will show you great and mighty things. I will tell you, Miss Burt, if somebody had told me 10 years ago that you're going to be a writer, and you're going to write books, you're going to write novels that teach young people how to live a life of serenity in their relationships, I would have told you, I don't know, I may be writing some poems, but I don't think I'll be writing any novels. But we can't see around God's corner. We don't know what is going to come. But when we surrender to him, and like when I was trying to write that devotional guide, and he said, no, I want you to write about betrayal. I can't tell you how many opportunities I've had to sit with young people and really give them some instructions about how to manage relationships. Mm-hmm. I never will forget, this young lady had read Jagged Edges, and she told me, she said, Miss Dancy, I really want to be like your Ariana. I want to be a strong woman like her. And I said, and you can be. You just have to make the decision. She said, but I don't want to be lonesome. And sometimes these guys just won't be your friend if you don't do everything they want. I said, but then you have to know what you want. Do you want that for your life? And I was able to sit with her and talk with her. And I can't tell you the end of the story because I haven't seen her since that time. But I did have that opportunity to share that with her. So my 4th point is open up your heart to God. Grow with him. Let him give you his promises. And he will stick with his promises. And my last point, the 5th point. You ready for that one? Did you want to make a comment? Okay. 5th point is the hardest one of all. Forgive. You have to be able to forgive. A lot of people feel like, I can't forgive. I'm not saying forget. You're not going to forget it. Mm-hmm. But you must forgive it. And the forgiveness is not for the person who perpetrated the betrayal on you. It's for you. It's so that you can move on in your life and you don't have to hold all of this anger and this resentment and feel like you've been done in. Where you can't move, where you're at a point like Summer, where she wanted to commit suicide. You don't want your life to be like that. So you want to release all of that. I'll tell you an experience that I had with a young lady that I was doing some edits for her. And she told me that she had not spoken to her sister in 10 years. And she said, we had a misunderstanding. And it hurt me so badly, I just can't talk with her. And it took me some while, but I told her, I said, you really need to call your sister, because they were living in 2 different states by that time. I said, you need to call your sister. You need to reach out to her. I said, it'll do you a lot of good. And I would tell her that every time we talked, I would ask her, have you talked with your sister? No, I just can't do it, Miss Dancy. I just can't do it. And one day she called me and she said, Miss Dancy, I've been praying. And God has told me to call my sister, just like you've been telling me. And so I'm going to call her tonight. And I said, well, please call me tomorrow and let me know how it went. Mm-hmm. She called me the next day and she said, my sister and I stayed on the phone all night long. She said, we could not let each other go. And she said, I feel like a weight has just been lifted from me. She said, I actually feel lighter. I don't have that feeling in my heart that I had before. And she said, and she told me some things that made me understand why she did the things that she did. And I understand them now. And she said, and I love my sister, and I love her more tonight than I've ever loved her in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the lesson that we have to learn, that even though sometimes we feel hurt in life, we have to let those things go, and we have to forgive. If we don't want to be devastated in our betrayals, and a lot of us are betrayed in different ways.
Yeah.
If we don't want to get devastated in it, then we have to forgive and we have to let go. So those are my points.
I know with before I got on the broadcast with you, we're talking my cousin and I were talking, and she was like, we talk about forgiveness, and sometimes it's just really hard to let go, because I think about 1982 when this, you did this to me, and I'm still mad about it, but you can't confront that person. There's sometimes where people have died,
Yeah.
and they still holding that anger in. Like I said, I'm just gonna be transparent. Like my father passed. My father had never seen me run track ever.
Mm-hmm.
I would, come home with gold medals and, accolades in it, all metro, all of that great stuff. He'd never seen me run track.
Mm-hmm.
He was on his dying bed when he told me how proud he was of me.
Mm-hmm.
With all the medals and all the accolades. And I wanted to say, I wish you would have told me that earlier, because that would have changed a whole lot for me. Because it's not that he was in the household. It was a sport that didn't interest him, and he just didn't partake in it. That was something my mom did, coming up. She was a great track runner. And so it bothered me, and he never told me, like, I love you. Or, like girls want to hear from the dad.
Right.
He was not that type of man. He was not raised in a household where, he was told I love you, or, great job. He was not raised in that kind of household. So he didn't know how to give that kind of affection to his daughters. And so for me, it was so much I wanted to say and do, but he was on his dying bed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And some things I really was angry with him. Like, why didn't you tell me this earlier? Why didn't? And I was really, really hurt when he passed away. And I was more hurt because I couldn't communicate with him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't forgive him. I'm like, dude, if you'd have told me this, if you'd have showed me this, I may have made different decisions in my life.
Mm-hmm.
He just how he was brought up, and I had to understand. I had to come to peace with his father died when he was 13 years old. He was raised by, just a single mom. My grandmother owned her own hair salon that was in the back of the house, and that was just never a part of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn those things after the fact, that he had, when he passed, well, what kind of life did he, household was it? What kind of life did he have? And just learning the ins and outs of what kind of father my grandfather was, and the life that he had. And so once I started learning, I was able to understand why he was, and how he was, because of his upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to forgive and treasure the memories that we did have. If that makes any sense.
It does make a lot of sense. And that's the thing we have to come to grips with. Sometimes we don't know a person's background, just like the young lady I'm talking about. She didn't understand why her sister did what she did. But after they talked all night long, she learned some things that she didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And she was able to understand those things, just like you were learning some things about your father that you didn't know. Yeah. See, a lot of times we don't understand the road they've walked.
Right.
And we don't understand why they do the things that they do. And that's why it's so important for us to just forgive so that we can move on. Maybe they couldn't move on, but we can. Mm-hmm. If we accept Christ as our personal Savior, and if we forgive, because God forgives us, so why shouldn't we forgive others? You know, we sin all the time. And we can go to him, and the minute you say, Lord, please forgive me, then you're forgiven. Yes. So why do we hold so much? Yes. So if you don't want to be devastated in betrayal, these are the things that you have to do. And one of the biggest ones is forgiveness. And I write in my book a lot about forgiveness, because that's what people have the hardest time doing. They don't seem to understand that the forgiveness is for them. It's not for the person who hurt them. You know, if they can forgive, then they can release all of that anger and all of that trauma that they go through. I've seen people who have been so angry for so long that they actually have the markings on their face. The frown is permanently there.
Yeah.
Because they have been that angry and that hurt for that long. So we don't have to live like that. We have to remember that it's not what happens to you in life. It's how you react to what happens to you. And in betrayal, you have to be a grown-up. And you have to really decide, I'm going to live my life, and I'm not going to give anybody my power.
Absolutely. So real quick, I just want to let you guys know that you can go to dreamsempowermentnetwork.org, go to About Us, click the 2019 Women in Power webinar series. Click that. It will take you to the page with all the speakers for this series, how to get in contact with them. And you can also register so that you will be able to receive these speakers for the week and next week, because I will be removing them off of Facebook. You'll no longer be able to see them on Facebook. So make sure you register so that you'll be able to tune in and put these speakers in your power tool, your arsenal of education, inspiration, however you want to put it. You want to make sure you have this so you can plug it in your ears and get rejuvenated and find that power to, push on, whether it's your personal, whether it's your business. We're giving you this information free, guys. We can't pass up education. This is power right here. This is Miss Dorsey, Miss Dancy is giving you power. This has been a wonderful, wonderful week of great speakers, guys. I can't express how proud I am at this point for having these speakers come and be transparent and be powerful and an expert in what they're talking about and teaching this week. So I want to thank Miss I'm going blank for a second. Thank our sponsor, Ms. O Arts. That's Ms. MZ O_art. You can find her on Instagram. She's a great artist. She'll have beautiful fantasy art. She does commission work. Check her out. Guys, next week, we're going into our last week. Actually, Monday is our last segment. Contessa Louise with meditation for business success and more. And Don Mason, five 5 days to a spiritual breakthrough. So I can't wait. I cannot wait for Monday to come around. I'm just so excited. So excited for, like I said, all these great, amazing speakers that participating these last 2 weeks on the Women Empower webinar series. I thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Miss Dancy, for this wonderful 5 points. It's been amazing time with you. I appreciate your time. I had somehow got things going on 2 pages, but
well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed myself.
Yes, it has been an awesome pleasure to have you, and I look forward to working with you again on some other things. I definitely will let you know about the next Black Authors Expo that'll be coming up. This year we'll be going to Greensboro, North Carolina. So we'll be back in the area again. So guys, make sure you register so you can get all of the speakers, because again, we will be removing them from the Facebook page. So that's just the FYI. You guys have a great weekend. And as I always say, remember, you have to dream big to win big. Good night, guys. I love you.
Good night.